Alright, we are back for part 2. So, as we left off, you guys were just coming onto the shore at the kind of the port's bit too. It's not really a port even, but the kind of the town square of Sherford. This abandoned town that had some kind of magical calamity, magic calamity befall it in years past, and is now just a ghost town. But you're here to hand over a strange gem, a strange bright blue gem, to a man or being called Demophon, who, as a first glance, is nowhere to be found. You come ashore, you don't linger on the rotten wooden jetty, kind of make your way onto land. There's weeds everywhere. This place looks really abandoned. It's not cared for in the slightest. The market square is more or less empty. There's a couple of old stalls. You get a general impression that whatever happened here, a lot of people left in a hurry. I mean, you know, whatever happened here happened roughly 20 years ago. So to be fair, this place doesn't look much worse than any place which has been abandoned for 20 odd years. But yeah, above and beyond that, it's definitely no signs of life, no signs of regular life or trade. A couple of abandoned carts which have just kind of rotted and silted and overgrown into the ground. Not even kind of spoiled, you know, it's not even like ruined, spoiled fruits or anything like that. They all rotted away long ago, and it's now just leaves and weeds and bushes and everything else has kind of come up in their place. The road is at one point the road would have been quite nice, as would the bridge. The bridge is actually quite a nice bridge. It's a fairly well done stone bridge, fairly solid construction, but it's overgrown with moss now, and likewise the nice cobblestone path has become kind of more gravel than not, and just overgrown with moss and weeds. And that's what you see, kind of heading off away from the river, kind of the river being to your back, kind of heading away eastwards. You kind of see the market square kind of expand out and then kind of head down towards kind of what looks like a main road of sorts, probably leading out of town. And there's more houses and stuff on either side, mostly just squat buildings. There might have been a couple of old shops and stuff here. There's probably some stuff that, you know, there might be some stuff worth exploring, perhaps even worth looting in this area of town. Still no signs of life. And then as you're exploring, you see, or rather as you're kind of taking this all in, you see kind of, it's one of those things that you kind of blink and you blink, and one moment it wasn't there and the next it was. You see this kind of flickering light, this strange will-o'-the-wisp style light appears in like the center of the town square. This blinking, glittering blue light just kind of blinks off and on. You all see it, perhaps one of you sees it first, and then you look at the others, look amongst yourselves and confirm that yes, you're not all imagining things, you all saw it, this blinking light blinking off and on in the middle of the town. And you see it kind of blink off and on, and then actually head kind of towards you guys. It starts blinking and heading towards you guys at speed, and then actually just blinks and blinks past you and blinks onto the bridge, then carries on from there, kind of blinks backwards, goes behind you over the bridge and onto the other side of the village. Otherwise, no other signs of life or obvious signs. What do you do?
Kerr nods in the direction it went and says, "Follow it."
Yeah, I'll. Fletcher gives him a sort of a nod. It's gonna take an arrow out and just not pull the string back, but kind of knock it, and then step off of the boat onto. We're off the boat.
You're off the boat. Yeah, you're off the boat.
And
the boat is sort of, it's tied up, but
yeah,
it's a little bit holed by now, and
so
yeah.
Gonna walk towards the bridge, and I'm just gonna sort of quietly say, Rage Cage, have you? Does that look familiar to you at all?
Can I try and detect magic or discern reality?
You can spout lore or detect magic if you like. Yeah.
Spout lore, that's cool.
You want to spout lore? Yeah. Okay. 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
Perfect. So you learn something. You remember something interesting and useful. That looks like a fairly simple cantrip to you. Looks like a
Cool.
a recall spell of some kind. Looks like the sort of thing which someone would use to get your attention and lead you in the right direction. You would surmise it's your client, this man Demothan, leading you on your way.
I tell everyone just to be careful because obviously this place is known for magic, and whoever this is has some magical ability.
Hmm. Yeah, I'll keep the arrow sort of like held ready, but
Sure.
I'm not going to pull
You're
the bow.
notched and ready.
Yeah, just, and I'll walk forward with and
Mhm.
kind of like lead the path that way.
Cool.
Sorry.
Okay. So you kind of cautiously come to the bridge. From the top of the bridge, you get a slightly better view because it's just a kind of a humpback bridge, so you get a slightly better view than you did from the bottom of the river. You can actually see out most of the village. Ahead of you is the other half of the village that's on the other side of the river, relative to what you were just looking at. More houses. To your immediate left, there's an old rotted water mill, still kind of slowly creaking, slowly churning the water for no particular reason nowadays. In the far distance behind that, you see the first indication that there might be some kind of habitation. There's a house on sort of the top of the hill, relative to where you are. It was probably kind of the town hall or the magistrate's house, the reeve's house, something like that. A little bit. It's a short walk through the village, probably a 10-minute walk through the village, and kind of up the slope to this reeve's house. And it looks like it's relatively well maintained. It's no more fancy than the rest of them. It's just, it's got a roof for one thing, and the store is well maintained. It looks fairly pleasant. It looks relatively intact. There's a door and it's closed. Say, you can well enough discern that much from the top there. The only other thing you see other than just more burnt out houses is there is a temple of sorts in the other direction. So from where you are looking straight ahead, you see a water mill, kind of, well, that's right there, that's right next to the bridge on the riverside here, kind of that way at kind of 10 o'clock relative to where you're looking. You see this house on the hill, this nice house on the hill. And at sort of 2 o'clock, so kind of down the hill in the other direction, kind of going out of town, you see an old dilapidated temple of sorts. Hard to say who or which deity it is dedicated towards, but clearly a home of a god or a pantheon of some kind, whoever the people worshipped here. Other than that, like I say, more houses. The glowing light heads towards the fancy house.
Keep following it, I guess.
Follow
Yeah,
on the
indeed.
path.
We should
Yeah.
go after it.
Absolutely. So you're following this thing. It's sort of it is waiting for you. It is patiently kind of marking your direction. So it's leading you along the old road, what's left of the road. And you kind of make your way past the mill along this road and start making your way up the hill. It's, like I say, it's a 10-minute walk total. You're about halfway through this walk, 5 minutes left to go, you'd reckon, just up the straight road up the top of the hill. You see it at the top of the hill there. And you start to hear a few weird noises coming from the houses around you. You hear banging, and you think you hear some kind of whispering from echoing out of one of the windows, and slowly but surely the unmistakable shuffle of footsteps. What do you do? Let's start with you, Alex. I haven't heard from you in a while. Mr.
I'll
Bard.
ready my rapier, because that sounds like zombies, basically,
Okay.
or some other kind of undead stuff. So I'd rather not get surprised.
Okay.
And I'll guard the rear.
You're at the rear? Okay, cool. Do you guys stop? You carrying on, or?
Kerr stops and adopts a stance.
Mhm.
I wouldn't want to go too far into the middle of this until we know what it is.
Okay, so you want to kind of face whatever this is now
Yeah.
before moving on.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you do, you can now definitely pick out there's more whispering, more voices, indistinct, kind of almost gobbledygook words, but there's whispering noises coming from a few of the houses around you. All around, you're basically hemmed in on both sides by these stone rotted husks of buildings, mostly kind of ground floor things, and you can't quite pinpoint it. It's like the houses to your left and right, you can kind of look in and it doesn't seem to be anything, but there's something around. There's definitely kind of whispering and shambling coming towards you. And then as you're sort of stopping and waiting, you kind of got a defensive posture. The big house, the big nice house, is to your back, 5 minutes walk, or I guess 4 minutes running to your back, and the houses are kind of there to your left and right and in front of you. And slowly but surely, you're rewarded, I guess, by the sight of another peasant. I mean, at first glance, not radically different from the ones who were firing at you from the bank. This one is kind of relatively intact. You still can see his stubby fingers, square jaw, still well set, stocky farmer type. No obvious wounds or anything, but nonetheless, that unmistakable veneer of death. Plus, he's shambling like a zombie. He's whispering you can see his mouth kind of moving as he's heading towards you. There's a brazen pitchfork in his hand. And as he kind of rounds around the corner of one of the houses you just passed, probably about an arrow's length from you, shall we say, near distance, you see more shadows coming out from behind you, kind of trying to hem you in, trying to stop you from going backwards, trying to stop you from going back the way you came. What do you do?
I wish to speak frankly with them.
Say again?
I wish to speak frankly with them.
Okay.
That means I can ask a question from the list below, and they must answer truthfully, and then they may ask a question from that list, and I have to answer it.
Okay.
Are they of sound mind? Are they completely zombified, or are they?
You could discern realities and find out. But it sounds like you may find out when your bard friend asks them an honest question.
Yeah, depending on the answer here, an arrow might fly.
Mm-hmm.
And
Speak frank with them. What you're wearing hasn't been in fashion for at least 2 decades. And you really need to shave.
My question is, whom do you serve?
Whom do you serve? Okay, so you kind of take point, do you? In a loud, clear voice, you echo out to them, elf voice ringing out across the hollowed-out houses. You say, "Whom do you serve?" And you hear the whispering kind of intensify from them. You see that there's this stern-jawed farmer. His jaw slants in your direction, and his eyes kind of lock with you. And he says, you hear him kind of whisper, something along the lines of, let's see, he says something along the lines of we serve the reeve, we serve our land, we serve our kin. Yeah, they're whispering stuff like that. We serve the reeve, we serve our land, we serve our kin, we serve the river.
Well, good.
Serve, we obey.
Then. Okay.
They don't ask a question back. They just carry on shambling towards you. They aren't taking... Sorry, go on. Sorry, Matt.
There are quite a lot of them.
Again, you would discern about, as you're sort of stopping to kind of take stock, there's probably about 10 of them kind of making their way out in 2s and 3s, kind of clumps of them. Not too many. Kind of 2 or 3. The first one comes out, this stock-jawed one, then a few more, then a few more. They're still a ways away, you haven't taken a shot.
And
they're kind of shambling towards you, and then that's about it. It's about 10 of them.
Are they all holding what could be considered a weapon?
Nope. Some of them are bare-handed, some of them just got stuff on them.
But some
of them have got rocks, some of them have got pitchforks. They don't... Well, actually, they are vaguely aggressive. I mean, none of them have got swords or axes or anything like that. They're all...
Yeah, something is like, is one carrying like a rolling pin or something? Or a butcher's...
Yeah, that sort of thing. Exactly.
That sort of thing. Yeah, but they're all sort of carrying something. They're not like...
improvised weaponry.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
All got improvised weapons.
I'm going to call out with my arrow like ready to sort of fire. I'm going to call out. That's far enough, friend.
You hear the whispering intensify and say, "No, you must leave. You must leave us. You must stay out."
Going by what I'm sorry, I forget names as well. Actually, that one. And Alex, you don't have the bar on the bottom of your screen. I have no idea what your name is.
Astrophel.
I can't seem to get this thing to show up anymore.
Oh,
okay.
no worries. Astrophel. That's Astrophel.
Going by what Astrophel said, or what they did to him, I'll say to the same guy, we serve the Reeve and are here, are on the way to him.
You hear them. They're getting closer now. They're not long distance arrow range anymore. They're probably about 15 feet away from you. And you can see that they're like the nearest ones. Their faces start to turn into a rictus of not hatred so much, but frustration, maybe anger. Okay. Certainly some anger there. When you mention that you serve the Reeve, they say, "No, you do not serve the Reeve."
Okay, I'm gonna try and plant an arrow in the first closest one.
Okay, called shot or just a straight up volley?
Just a straight up volley, I think.
Okay, go for it,
please. 11.
11. Wow, nice. Okay, straight up. Roll your damage. I always forget. Is a volley like hack and slash where you can choose to deal more damage if you want?
I don't think.
I don't know if it is.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Let me have a look for you. Regular volley. Yep, on a 10 plus, you have a clear shot. Deal your damage. Okay. You absolutely have a clear shot.
3.
You do 3 damage to the nearest one. The arrow thunks in, stops him. The one with the square jaw kind of rocks back into the crowd, and he's not the one in front anymore, but he's still coming towards you. Now the one in the rolling pin's in front, among others. Okay. They're coming towards you still.
Yeah, serve the Reeve. Ready to fire again, but I'll let someone else go first.
Is the road towards the house on the hill still free?
Yeah. None have come from behind you.
Okay.
The light is just waiting expectantly behind you, just hovering about 10 feet behind you, very clearly indicating go to the house.
Yeah. I'm going to start backing up and say to these guys back to the house as well.
Yeah, Kurt looks around and says we could walk there and they wouldn't catch us. I mean, they're moving very slowly, yeah?
We should probably run either way.
So we turn towards the house and start moving in that direction.
Absolutely. You running or walking?
I mean, Kurt's not one to run unless he needs to.
Okay. So you're basically your brisk pace, but no brisker than you need to.
I'll walk with these. I'm facing them.
Yeah. You're backing up as quickly as you can back up, aren't you? As you're kind of, it's like a jog, isn't it? If you're kind of making backwards, but you're also keeping your weapons ready and keeping your eyes on them. So they're well, as best as they can, they're keeping pace with you. So yes, you're right. They can't. They're basically kind of. They're not giving up. They're not stopping. They're not going away. They're not de-aggroing anytime soon. Okay. They basically follow you all the way up to the gates of the house. The house. Yep. Go for it, Alex.
While we're doing this, I mentioned to Rage Cage that show them the gem because they're dead. The gem has something to do with the dead. Maybe they're after this. Maybe they react to this in some way.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
Let's see how they react to this.
So when Rage Cage holds the gem aloft, you see their eyes kind of glow a similar bright blue, and their pace intensifies, and they start moving significantly faster.
I loosen another arrow straight away.
They are like, oh, and they now start moving. Like I say, they aren't, although they have kind of the look of death upon them, they aren't like, they haven't got like wounds. It's not like missing arms, missing legs. They're all essentially whole. They just look kind of corpseified.
Apart from the one with the arrow sticking in him.
Yeah, apart from all the yeah.
I'm gonna.
No blood.
As soon
No
as they
blood,
start, as soon as they start moving forward, I want to loose another arrow, and I'm gonna look to the wizard or say something along the lines of, "Surely you've got something like up your sleeve."
Yeah. This is intensifying into like the slowest chase ever because you're kind of backing up quickly, and they're sort of jogging after you now.
I'm just gonna sort of say, if you've got a fireball up your sleeve, Kerr, now would be the time, and I'm gonna let it loose with an arrow.
Can I try and cast a spell of prestidigitation and try and create an illusion of the gem somewhere else, so they run towards that, and then we can disappear, as it were, whilst they're distracted?
I think you could, yeah. Let me just remind myself of prestidigitation.
They're probably not
magic. Touch an item, you can make cosmetic changes. Oh, that's right, because I renamed it for you, didn't I? I just said you can do minor tricks to please idiots, which is about right for prestidigitation, I think.
And zombies.
Yeah. So yeah, let's just go with that. Yes, you can absolutely do prestige. So you basically like, whoop, no, there's not this isn't here. And I guess maybe as part of your spell, you kind of it's like dog-like. It's like you pretend to throw it. So yeah, let's see that. Go ahead and roll plus intellect and see how that works out.
So I hope
6, 7. Didn't you get a 9? I think you got a 9 there. You got plus 2 intellect, haven't you?
Oh yes, sorry, 9 indeed.
6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. Actually, what am I saying doesn't make it. Actually, if someone aids you, then is anyone could anyone magically inclined, or would anyone tap into helping with this performance? It's
That's not at all.
To aid Cage there.
What do I need? What do I need to roll for?
You're rolling to aid, so you haven't really got any bonds with rage, so you're just straight up rolling 2d6.
Well, I'll try my best. I'll do like atmospheric music.
Yeah. Hey, didn't it go over there, guys? Yeah, I think it did.
Make sound effects for it.
I rolled it. Oh, it doesn't. Now it doesn't show my rolls.
It's alright. It's alright. We'll go on trust. Just tell us.
It's a 6.
Oh dear. Okay, fair enough. So mark experience.
It's 4.
So this fake gem goes flying off into the kind of the grass, kind of over there. Where'd you throw it, Christian? Does it go over their heads or over to the one side, or?
Over to one side, so they sort of
start to veer off down the hill. Well, about half of them veer off down the hill. The other half think that Astrophel has it, because he's like kind of, whoa, I got it, and he, like the pantomime goes off. So they kind of think half of them think he has it, the other half think it's elsewhere. The good news is none of them think Rage Cage has it. So
well, that is good.
Yeah.
Turn up for the books.
So 3 of you are booking it for the house. Astrophel, they're making a good pace towards you. What do you do? They're gonna start grabbing you and either bludgeoning you with implements.
Can I try and turn Astrophel invisible?
Yes, you can. You have to touch him to do it, but yep, you can totally do that.
I'm assuming he's sort of running with us, as opposed to just standing there and
waiting
to be this horde of zombies.
Yeah.
I'm so running.
7, 8, 9.
Yes, indeed.
9. So yeah, you totally do it, but choose one. It's you forget the spell. It's -1 to cast spells from now on, or you draw unwelcome attention to yourself.
I think in this case I'll forget the spell.
Okay, you forget how to cast invisibility for now. That page becomes invisible in your book again. Your book became invisible after a while, but that page kind of flutters into invisibility again. It phases out of existence. I guess the same magic which powers your book being so relatively weightless, it also makes certain pages actually formless as well after a while, and that's what happens here. But yes, as you're reading the spell out and casting and doing the incantations, the elf bard blink, disappears from view. So the elf bard, you are now invisible until you attack, or Rage Cage dismisses the effect. And Rage Cage can't cast any spells while you're still invisible. So yeah, the zombies are like, the remaining like 5 zombies which are still there. They just kind of scatter. They're like kind of and they start kind of. They mostly sort of continue in your direction, but their step falters. They slow down. They kind of a look of confusion crosses their eyes, and And that confusion's enough for the group of you to kind of make your way to the house, I'd imagine now. You're pretty much up against the front door, which is ajar, to this grand old house. And there you are.
Sorry.
What do you do? Do you head in, or do you want to fuck about with these zombies some more?
No, sorry, it's just because you went. I heard when you said, and the door is ajar. And I thought that's a weird looking door.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm gonna put my bow away and draw my short sword. And,
Okay.
And use the tip of it to push the door open to look in.
It opens up, revealing a relatively well-kept, middle-class Ian kind of governor's house. You know, nothing too fancy, but you can see there's nice rugs in there which have been relatively well kept. A lot of new stuff here. You know, it's all, well, not brand new, but newer than 20 years certainly. You know, there's nice rugs that should have rotted away, and like I say, there's a roof. It's got all its fixtures and fittings.
Okay. Did the light? Presumably the light went inside, or it blinked out of existence.
Yeah, the light blinked out as soon as you touched the door.
All right, so I'm gonna step in then.
Cool.
I would, since I'm invisible, maybe I should go first.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I feel something walk past me.
Start singing.
Absolutely.
Singing might make the point you're invisible a little bit moot, but you know, carry on anyway.
Yeah, I mean, na, you can't see me.
Yeah.
No, I slowly step in and try to see if there's any zombies or any
Nothing
other
inside. It looks calm inside. To those of you still outside, the zombies stop at the front. They don't pursue you into the gate. They stop at the gate, but they don't disappear either. They don't disperse. They start kind of searching around. They kind of continue their search for the disappeared guy who supposedly has their jewels. So they're kind of scattered at the moment. And for those of you still looking out as opposed to heading inside, you basically just see them kind of scattered around this kind of grassy, overgrown hillock, trying to find this gem, I guess, and or you. Momentarily distracted.
Okay, since I
Kerr
can't.
steps in behind Astrophil.
You hear a voice inside, kind of echoing through the chamber as the doors opened, saying, "Come in, come in. Come on, quick."
So you'll rush in, I guess. Like,
Kerr's
running.
in.
Yeah.
We'll walk in.
Is it dark inside? I mean, other than the light coming through the door?
No, it's relatively well lit actually. There's oil lamps lit all around.
Okay.
Quite nice construction.
Okay. Yeah, I'll follow everyone in. I'll go in last, I guess. And do I want to shut the door?
You hear from upstairs, come on in. There's a draft. Close the door, please.
I'm going to look at the guys. I'm going to give the guys a questioning look, as in, should I shut this door or not?
I nod, but he can see me.
Kerr also nods.
Okay. All right. I shut the door.
You can hear faint noises of activity coming from upstairs, and there's more light upstairs. Like this kind of entrance hall seems to have been kind of swept clean for your arrival, and the stairway likewise. There's a lot of closed doors otherwise.
What was our client's name? Or our target's name?
Demophon, your client to deliver this gem to, was called Demophon.
Kerr calls that out.
Yep.
Demophon.
Yes, come upstairs. Yes, you're with the company. Yes. You have my package?
Yes, we do.
We do. Kerr will start going up the stairs.
Yeah, I'll come up as well.
As you head up the stairs, you see, again, nicely kept. You see the first ajar door that you've seen, the first open door inside that you've seen, leads to, looks like a kind of, I guess it would have been a conference hall or something back in the day, and it looks like it's been kind of retrofitted into an alchemist lab of sorts. There's you can hear bubbling and boiling, and you can get a vague sense of heat coming from it. The first you've got since you've arrived here. There's nice wood paneling on the floors, and and fine stonework on the walls, and it all has a nice, well-kept aura to it. There's kind of an expectant silence, I guess. You don't hear anything from the guy, but there's just almost he's just waiting for you. You get the impression. So you come round the door, assuming you do come round the door.
Yeah.
Unless you want to explore his house some more. But as you come around the door, you come into this alchemist's lab. You see there's kind of this character has set up a couple of trestle tables of all sorts of strange concoctions and various reagents. There's a few grisly bits, some skulls and odds and sods, but more or less it's mostly magical implements, various dusts, powders, gemstones, and the like. At a glance, not something that you necessarily recognise, but anyone of a magical or even divine or even worldly bent, I suppose, might be able to spout lore and might be able to pick out one or two pieces. Demophon himself he's not actually looking at you. He's crouched over a couple of test tubes, kind of working on his latest experiment. He's a big guy, way bigger than you'd expect, and he's not human. He is Drake-like. He's a lizard man of sorts. He's either a small dragon or a big lizard man. He walks on his hind legs. He's hind legs and two hands, opposable thumbs, the usual malarkey. And he's almost kind of multicoloured. He's multifractal. He's got kind of his hindquarters and kind of most of his back is kind of covered in this sort of sloughed off skin. And his hands, his front, his shoulders, his head, kind of looks like new fresh scales. He's kind of halfway through molting, basically. He doesn't kind of acknowledge you as you come into the room. He's just still looking. He's looking through like a microscope or something like that, or a series of kind of the kind of steampunky thing where they've got a set of glasses and it's got like 100 lenses on it. He's using one of those, and he's got them kind of perched precariously on his dragon-like snout. And he doesn't look up from his work as you approach. He's like, "Yes, come in, come in." And I'm aware that we are just a little bit running over time for Christian, who wanted to head off. So I just want to double-check with Christian. Do you want to finish it up there now that it's a relatively quiet point?
I probably should disappear, yes, I'm afraid.
Yeah. No worries. So we'll put Rage Cage on autopilot. I will guarantee that he won't die unless the rest of the party does. So,
Okay.
Otherwise he won't be doing much of consequence unless it's painfully obvious he would do.
No,
All right.
All right.
Cool. All right, then, Christian. Thanks very much for that, and I shall
All right.
speak to you. I'll speak to you soon.
All right,
See you,
cheers. See you later.
Cool. Bye.
See you, Christian.
Right. Okay. Where were we? So yes, a dragon-like alchemist, halfway through molting, working on his lab, expecting his package. What do you do? Oh shit! Christian's got the crystal.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take over. We'll take over and assume that Christian hands the crystal to someone and has to go now. His planet needs him.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take the crystal off him and I'll walk towards the dragon fella. And are we expecting payment on delivery, or expecting? Or
You're
is
not
it-
expecting
is
payment
it-
at all. Remember, you do
Okay,
these jobs
just-
and you get a wage.
We're just
Okay,
delivering.
Wage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I said I'll kind of hold it out. He's got his back to me, right?
No, he's looking
face
down. He's not looking at you, but he's got his front to you. He's on the other side
I'll,
of the desk from you.
I'll kind of stand across the desk from him so he can easily reach out to it, and I'll hold it out and say, "Looks like you're not the only one in town looking for this."
And he's like, "What do you mean?" Still looking up. He's still working on his stuff.
I'll say, "This seems like the locals are wanting to come knocking."
He's like,
we-
"Oh."
We met your neighbors.
Yeah.
It's easier for him to take his spectacles off because he hasn't got a headset on. He's like, "Oh, the locals, I see." And he finally takes like all of his gear. I'm going to put his glasses on so I can't see a thing. But if I say he takes his glasses off and finally regards you properly. He takes a look up. He's got he kind of regards you with a pair of young, bright eyes. The scales underneath are a rather brilliant red. And the ones kind of off of his back are kind of still a red, but a much duller reddy brown. The ones which are kind of sloughing off of him. He's almost like it's like he's got it almost looks like he's got a tunic on, right? And he's kind of taken the top of it off, but it's still wrapped around his waist, you know? It's like he's almost half in, half out of his skin here. It's just kind of lying around his waist. Anyway, so he finally regards, oh, yes, you've met the locals then. And he looks around, he regards you properly for the first time, and he makes eye contact with you, Kerr, and he goes, you were the one who did the ceremony.
Can I? I've been observing him the whole time. Can I spout lore?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you're going to spout lore about dragons, yeah, you're the guy to do it.
Oh, not at all good.
Oh,
5.
interesting. Okay. Well,
basically, I just wanted to try and figure out what the hell he is.
Yeah. To be honest, there's a certain element that you would know. I mean, your lore, isn't it? In your lore, your dragon monks. Is it a known thing that dragons exist, or are they simply kind of named after their honor? Is it a mythological beast, or is it an actual? It's a known fact that dragons live below the mountain.
They actually live in the mountain.
And do your monks care for them, or do they simply revere them? What's their relationship to the dragons themselves?
Actually, I mean, in a way, they could be mythological. At least at the circle of the brotherhood that Kerr is. He's never directly seen an actual physical one, or at least not the ones under the mountain. But it is taught and clearly believed by all the monks that they are indeed there, and maybe the higher circles of the monastery actually do see them, but they're believed to be sleeping under the mountain. They appear.
So this would be the first time you've met a dragon, then, you would believe.
Directly, physically, yeah. They appear in his dreams regularly.
Okay. Okay.
So
well, this is nothing like what appeared in your dream.
Okay.
The dragons which appeared in your dream were, stepping out for a minute, the dragons of D&D lore, creatures that, Smaug. Those are the dragons of lore, I imagine, or something like that. Well, I don't know what your culture's perception of dragons would be, whether the Eastern dragon, the kind of serpentine Eastern dragon, or the Smaug-style Western dragon of yore, or something in between. But the grand beasts that belch fire or blow gases of gouts of gas, or whatever it is that the various chromatic dragons do. This is nothing like those. Why is this one? Is this not just a lizard man? You sing to yourself. Is this not just you are unsure? Other than the fact he's sensed some kinship with you. That's the only indicator you have that this creature could be anything approaching a dragon, as opposed to just a lizard man playing at games. Anyway, nonetheless, he regards you and says, you were the one who did the ceremony. So, do you answer him, or are you just mulling all this over while he's regarding you?
Yeah. I'll say an innocent man died on the boat we came on.
He's like, just kind of, it's very noble of you, very noble. Yes, you seem to do the rites well. You seem to do them right. And he goes back to his studies. He sort of starts going back. His gaze wavers, and he starts looking back at his projects. Like, now, I am busy. If you just leave the gem on the desk there for me, that'll be quite sufficient.
All right, I'll place it down on the table. Yeah, I think Fletcher's just going to be like, okay, put it down on the table and just be like, pleasure playing Delivery Boy for you, and sort of turn to leave. I'm ready for the next job.
Yeah. He's like, just as you're sort of turning to leave, he says, oh, yes, of course. I'm sorry, of course. A little thing for your troubles. And he goes to He goes to he's got like a lab coat, which is bizarre because there's no way in hell he could wear the thing. It's far too small, but nonetheless he has one. And he goes to the coat and he pulls out a little pouch and he starts fishing out for something for it. And he says, oh yes, here you go, something for your troubles. And he lays down next to the gem enough. He frees four small piles, enough one for each, a small pile for each of you, not of coins, but of coin-sized dragon scales. smaller scales, larger than must have come from him. You can see, larger than his own scales, but these great big, kind of almost chunky fossil, like giant iron hard nails in your hands, about the size of a 50p piece, if he has one. He doesn't have one, but yeah, suffice to say, a nice, something that might be the size of your thumbnail, say, a nice big scale. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Thank you very much, Chris.
All right. Cool. I'll regard them and
Give a small pile of each of them to you.
yeah, I'll sweep mine up into my hand and look them over. What colour are they?
Roughly speaking, a red, but they've got a kind of effervescent sheen to them. Like they're kind of covered. They feel dry to the touch, but they look like they're covered in oil. They've got that kind of rainbow-like sheen on one side. On the other side, they're kind of dull and obviously the inner side is dull and dark.
Yeah, Fletcher wouldn't know much about these, but he'll take them and go like, okay, thanks.
They're pretty. They'd fetch a few coins in the market,
Yeah,
I imagine.
put him in his pouch of coin. He's probably feeling quite empty at the moment.
Yeah,
So nice to have a reassuring chink or whatever in there,
absolutely.
or whatever noise they make.
I would like to use my bardic lore again.
Sure.
Because that seems like an important item. And I want to know, what are those used for usually?
So when you first encounter an important creature, location, or item covered by your bardic lore, so this is something that's covered by grand histories of the known world.
Yeah,
so you want to know the history behind dragon scales as coin. As
yeah,
currency.
if
That would be something
anybody-
that we covered under history.
Yeah, has this ever used? Is this a normal thing for dragons to do, or like?
Okay. Well, you only have a very dim sense of this. I mean, given that this is the same world in which a society of monks literally lives on top of dragons, the dragons, quote unquote, and their knowledge is only limited to the upper echelons. I think that the societal norms of dragonhood aren't well known, but of course, as with anything, there are myths, there are legends, and there's always some truth to those myths and legends. The idea of dragons using their own scales as coins does have a sort of sense to it. I mean, it would be something that you can imagine that these scales would be something which all dragons would have access to. They would be something to be easy to claim, and perhaps there's a sense of scales from certain dragons or certain kinds of dragons or certain breeds or something like that, some subtle sense of these scales having more merit than other dragon scales, and in that there is something to them. But beyond that, you're not really sure. You think, well, okay, maybe these are the scales of an older dragon, but there's no obvious indication to your eyes, to your elf eyes, or to the matter to the human, dwarf, or halfling eyes, other than someone who would really know their stuff on this, as to whether this is for dragons. This is the equivalent of a penny or £100 or more or £1,000. You're not sure how much these really mean. Other than that, yeah, there could well be some currency. And again, worst case scenario, they're shiny. They could be fashioned into something quite nice. They might even turn a blade or two.
Yeah, how hard are they? They
At
seem
least as
metal.
hard as steel.
Okay. Could make a few arrows.
Bite one down, doesn't give,
Yeah, I'm going to test it. I think
Absolutely. You bite one down and you break a tooth.
Yeah.
If you're not careful.
I think this can make a good arrowhead. Is what.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, they could make good arrowheads if you fashion them as such. I mean, actually, because they'd be sort of scale shaped,
sort of size.
so they wouldn't be particularly sharp, but you could turn them perhaps and make them into good arrowheads. Yeah. Yeah,
They
it'd be a great
would
way to
also
use
make
them.
good. They would make good picks, I guess.
Yeah, anything you could top them with. There's all sorts of uses. Anyway, you're mulling these things over, and he says,
Kerr picks one up, and he's frowning. And he takes a close look at it, and he says to Demophon, "Where did you get these?" And he says it in dragon tongue.
Excellent. Okay. In dragon tongue, you see. They're the same words as before. These kind of shouldn't come out as syllables of your mouth. Sort of idea. Excuse me. and he jumps up sharp. Well, he doesn't jump up, but he looks up sharply at that. That prick. If he had ears, he doesn't because he's a dragon. But if he had ears, they'd prick his ears up. He looks right up and looks dead at you, gets his attention right back. And you hear him respond in dragon kind. So, where did you learn to talk like that? Was that from the monastery?
Crow just sort of squints at him and says, "Answer my question."
He says they're from my kin's horde. It's from the horde of my ancestors. Why? And he sort of takes one of your, because you took one out of your pile, right? You left the rest of your pile on the table. He takes one of the other ones out and just double checks it to make sure he hasn't given you a duff one by mistake or something. It's like, why is it? What's wrong with them? Are you saying, he's like, he's like, are you saying there's something wrong with them? He regards one and confirms there's nothing wrong with it to his eyes and puts it down and kind of regards you quizzically.
Yeah, Kura more or less reveres dragons almost as gods, so he finds this all very strange that someone's handing out scales from them as currency. Having had a good look at the scales and a good look at the guy and everything, I am going to roll to discern realities.
Okay, sounds good.
Oh man, that's it's a 4, which is a 6, so still crap.
You're all sort of there. You're all kind of taking stock of him. I suppose someone could aid you if you like. Does anyone want to try and aid? Anyone will try and aid Kerr?
I can try.
Turn that 6 into a 7.
It's
Kind
just
of
2d6.
2d6, straight up 2d6. Yeah.
6, 7, 8, 9.
Cool. So you help him. So you've turned that 6 into a 7 now. So you get to ask one question, Kerr. You do put yourself kind of you put yourself in danger is the letter of the rule, but there isn't too much. I can tell you now, there isn't too much danger here. But you do kind of bring yourself under scrutiny. Your extra looking around is not missed. So go ahead and ask your question, Kerr.
What here is not what it appears to be.
Okay, it's not what it appears to be. So you're in this alchemist lab. I mean, the whole setup is weird. It's all there. It's all correct. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Why would some kind of dragon, I guess a young dragon, you guess a young dragon, why would a young dragon be doing something as prosaic as setting up an alchemist lab? That's not what dragons do, right? Dragons hoard gold and jewels and sleep under mountains and ravage villages and this, that, and the other. Why would he be in some backwater village in the middle of nowhere accepting gems from mercenaries? It's not that it's not what it appears. It's not. That is exactly what it appears to be. That is exactly what the situation is here. He is an alchemist of some kind, and there he is. But that doesn't make sense to you. It seems too normal.
Kerr smiles politely and in normal speech says, "This wasn't what I was expecting. I'm sorry if we were rude. It's perhaps not. It's perhaps also not so polite to ask, but what exactly are you?"
He bristles at that. It's like, you're right, that's not polite. He's talking in common, and he's talking in very crisp, clear common tongue. Again, it's kind of like the dragon speak thing in reverse. He shouldn't be able to speak common tongue this well with his big ass dragon mouth, but he can, and very well, very well. And he bristles at that. He says, "What do you mean? What am I?" He says, "I'm a dragon." He says, I might only be in my early hundreds, but I'm a dragon nonetheless.
I apologize. I'm familiar with dragons, though far older.
Go ahead and roll plus charisma for me.
Oh,
You're defying danger using social graces here.
I knew you'd probably want a charisma roll eventually. That's my worst stat, but
Oh, is it -1?
Yeah, it is.
Yee. So a 6.
Yeah.
He takes your apology as insincere, and he says, "You've kept me away from my studies for long enough, all of you. I've given you more than what you expected, and if you want to have taken them already, you've taken them already. But if you haven't, if they're still on the ground, he sweeps up the rest of the scales and just sweeps them into his hand. Anything you haven't taken at this stage. So I think you've only got 1 scale for your efforts.
Kerr's only got 1, yeah.
The rest of you've got yours. He's like, I've given you more than enough for your time here, and suffice to say, you'll be hearing from your employers about this. It's enough to be kept from my studies for this long, and now you're ranting and asking me to confirm my identity. This is enough. Go on, out with all of you. Leave me to my studies. And he goes to put the rest of the scales back where he put him.
Can I try to speak frankly with him before we leave? I want to apologize for my colleague. He's young and inexperienced. So I would like to ask you something, if you might allow me.
You can do it quickly. He's not going to change his. You get the impression, because you've seen a lot of people. You know people, Bard, and this guy isn't going to change his mind too much. He's like the guy who, he's been. It's like someone who's been given the wrong order in a restaurant, and then the waitress comes down later and says, "How's the food?" And it's like, "Well, it wasn't what I ordered, so don't come down saying, 'How's the food now?' Don't try and scrape it back. I'm still annoyed." He's like that. So he's like, "What is it?" But he will answer. He's got no particular beef against you. So what do you want to ask?
Know is, what do you most desire?
He says, "Right now, all I want is my studies. I want to take my studies and be left alone. So why aren't you helping me do that?" And he's starting to bristle now. He's definitely getting irked, and less of the academic side is disappearing rapidly. And you see, like, at least the top half of his body, at least, is starting to bulk up. It's like he's almost starting to burst a bit more out of the skin. The skin is starting to slough a little bit further down his waist, as the rest of him kind of brings himself up to his full height at you two, and he does you four rather, and he is taller than all of you. Normally he's hunched over his desk, but as he brings himself up to his full height, he stands head and shoulders above all of you.
Oh, I'm sorry. We did not intend to keep you too long from your studies.
Kerr's already turned for the door.
We will leave you now to your studies. Apologies again. It's not often you see one creature of such magnificence as yours. So
you hear him, he starts growling.
So bye.
Kerr's already out the door.
You get an unmistakable wave of heat. He didn't breathe fire or anything, but you definitely get a sense of a wave of heat pushing you out the door as you leave the doorway. And he leaves you back down in the I guess that the four of you are back down in the hallway now, in the entrance hall. You hear kind of you hear him stump over to the door, close the door on you. You hear him kind of stump back to his room, and that's about it. So you've delivered the gem. Job accomplished. All you've got to do now is get out. Or, given we're coming up on time a little bit here, do you want to start glossing over that and finish up for today?
I could do with that, if that's all right.
That's absolutely fine. All right, so let's say, suffice to say, it's a perilous journey to get home, one way or the other. I'm going to let you use adventuring gear or rations for this, because frankly it's kind of a mixture between getting out of the village and kind of navigating those zombies and kind of taking the trip home. Sorry, there's a bit of an echo on someone. Has someone got me on speakers there? No?
No.
Okay, don't worry about it. Yeah, so you can use adventuring gear or rations because it's kind of a combination of the two, between getting out of the village and then the long trip home. But it's definitely a perilous journey. And yeah, and the lizard wizard isn't helping you too much, I guess. So yeah, let's make a perilous journey. It is. Let's see, without the boat. Actually, no, you might have the boat. What am I saying? But the boat was still relatively intact. So let's say it's 2 days overall. 2 rations, 2 adventuring gear, or 1 of each. Go ahead and pick your roles.
I'm going to say I'm probably scout.
I'll go trailblazer.
And then I'll do the quartermastering.
Okay. All right.
Oh, trailblazer sucks. 5.
I got 9 plus 2. No, sorry, plus 1, 10.
Wait, this is plus wisdom.
Whiz.
Oh crap.
What you got?
5.
So 2 5s and a 10 on the scouts is 10.
Yay, XP.
So the scout spots any trouble quick enough to let you get the drop on it. It's pretty self-explanatory. That's the
Getting around the zombies.
that's the zombies successfully navigated. You spot more roving patrols. Not so many in the village proper. And I guess which way do you guys get out? I'll tell you now. As you're sort of navigating, avoiding the zombies, you do see an alternate way home, which would be kind of the walk along town. There is a road out of town, so you could take the road out and kind of take the long way round by foot, and kind of just follow the bank instead. Or you could kind of try and make back into town, and try and go back the way you came.
I think as a scout, I'd try and lead these guys out a different way. I wouldn't go back for the boat. If we know there's these creatures or these undead or whatever they are inside town, I'm going to try to lead them out a different route. Just for ease of...
Perfect. Job answered. So the scout is like, no, let's go this way. You go over the bridge, you veer right, you're dodging patrols. Not that many zombies on the other side, the side which you kind of landed on. That's relatively clear. It's just kind of the side with the temple on and the side with the house on, which seem to have more zombies on. So the whispering fades as you cross the bridge. And yeah, you lead them out of town and avoid getting the drop get on you from any zombies, crossbow wielding men or whatever. However, the quartermaster does not reduce the number of rations required by 1. So that is, what did I say before? I said 2, didn't I, each? So it's 2, 4, 6, and then another one 7. Someone's going to have to spend an extra ration or adventuring gear.
Well, might as well be me.
And in fact, the Trailblazer increases the amount of time it takes to reach your destination. So I guess you have a general idea of the land, but you don't have an idea. This is you, Kerr. I guess you've got a general idea of the land, and you have a general idea of the river, but you don't have an idea of this. You're having to go back via a route you're not really sure of, and you end up kind of taking the road, which is relatively safe, but a little bit longer. So it takes each of you an additional ration and adventuring gear, or adventuring gear rather, to get home. So in the end, it's 3 days travel. That's 3 for each of you, either rations or adventuring gear, plus 1. Whoever has to spend the extra 1, I'll let you decide among yourselves.
I will spend the extra 1 because I screwed up.
Okay.
Okay.
I also screwed up, but I won't stop.
Okay. So there you go. So knock off rations or adventure gear. Anyone running? Is that a problem for anyone? Anyone down to like 0 of anything?
Nope. I'm alright. 3 dungeon rations and 2 adventuring gear.
Right.
I've got 2 of each.
I suppose most of you will start with 5 of them.
Oh no, wait. How many rations are you supposed to use? Sorry, 3.
3.
Sorry, I'm down to 2.
Yeah. I guess most of you have got like 5 rations, 5 adventuring gear, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Bard, you would have started with.
I only have adventuring gear.
That's fine. You can just use adventuring gear.
Yeah.
Like you're the one. It's like you're the one using all the gear to get out. Adventuring gear, 1 weight. That's 5 uses. That's fine. So you use. You want to use the extra one, didn't you? So you use 4 of your 5 adventuring gear.
Yeah. Okay.
So there we go.
And
So
when
it
they're
takes
paid.
you a fair amount of like tools and resources and a little bit of luck to get out without attracting any kind of zombie attention. You get out the supposedly abandoned village, and you know what? You get back, and you've not only have you got your wage, your stipend, you've got a bit of living accommodation, the usual. You've also got a few stories to tell because you're the ones who have come back alive from Sherford and its unusual resident. And yeah, you come back, and there you go. Job complete.
Cool.
We've got
Cool.
a couple handfuls of scales.
Absolutely, yeah. Does anyone want to try and do anything with those scales before we finish for tonight?
I just want to try to use one as a pick and see if I can.
Are you
if it makes any
attaching it to
difference in my
something,
play.
or?
No, as a pick for the loot, like.
Oh,
from the-
I thought you meant like a mining pick.
No, not a
a
mining
pick
pick.
for the
The
loot.
guitar pick.
Loot.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I like it. Yeah. A loot pick, of course. Okay. Cool. I think it adds a certain resonance. Why don't you go ahead and roll plus intellect for me?
Plus intellect.
Plus time you play. Because you're not really like cranking out the jams here. This isn't a charismatic performance. You're just kind of not pretending, practicing,
Ooh,
using your lore.
12.
Nice. So you're practicing, you're carefully practicing because you're not quite sure what it's going to do. You don't manage to break any strings in the process. And you learn that you get a particularly good note out of these scales. It really does lend itself very well to a performance. And it adds a certain amount of swagger as well. You know, so you can imagine yourself. You're thinking, well, if I keep one of these aside, I can probably sell the rest. Let's say you've got D6. Let's say you got, I don't know, D4 plus 2, right? A number between 3 and what's that, 7 each. Yeah, that's a handful. So Kerr, you've got 1. The others you've got D4 plus 2. And
I've got 6.
Nice. So you could sell the rest or keep them for a rainy day or whatever. But Astrophel, you know that if you use one of these, if you're doing like a blazing performance to a crowd of people who could be easily wowed, you know, this is going to really set the tone going. You know, you're going to be able to kind of nail that performance because you've got this kind of weird, jagged thing. This is like your centerpiece of your performance. If you've got a light on you, it's going to like dazzle them as it reflects off the light. This cool, shiny object kind of in the middle of your performance. It's really going to make something of your arcane art when you're trying to wow the crowds.
Yeah, I'll keep them, definitely.
Yeah. In fact, you could fashion it as like a necklace. You could have one kind of around your neck that you kind of dramatically pull off to really crank up the jams as and when you need to on your lute.
Right.
Lest we forget it's a lute and not an electric guitar. Anyone else want to do anything else with them?
No, keep on one for now.
Okay, cool. All right, good stuff. Okay, so that's pretty much it then, guys. You get your you get your kind of monthly wage, I suppose. The other bits and bobs. You've got your living accommodation paid for. You've got everything else paid for. You're living relatively well. Anything you want to ask your rep as you go back and say, yep, mission complete, all good, put it in the ledger, da-da-da-da-da. Anything else you want to kind of ask about the mercenary company or find out about them now? Or is it all pretty self-explanatory?
I think it's all pretty self-explanatory.
Okay.
For me, anyway.
Good stuff. All right then.
Should we do end of session?
Yes, let's. So we haven't really got bonds.
Nope.
I might try and think of some kind of thing related to the mercenaries to kind of replace bonds. But certainly for now, if you want to write in bonds, I know you guys, I think most of you guys are keen to play at least once more this month anyway, so there's a good chance you guys will carry on playing together as it is. So feel free to write in some bonds for each other now.
Fletcher got one bond this session.
Yeah, I have
With
put.
Kerr.
Yeah, I wrote something along the lines of. Kerr looks younger than he is. I should not underestimate him. I don't know how that's best way of. It's something like that I want. It's just my note at the moment.
Sounds good to me. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's it really. Trying to think of one for the other two really.
Don't worry about it. I mean, well, one bond per session is fine.
Yeah, okay. I'll leave that for now. Let's see something else. I didn't get my alignment.
Okay.
Free someone from literal or figurative bonds. So,
No, you didn't get that one, sadly.
and I assume didn't complete any bonds, so I'm experienced until the questions.
Okay. Astrophel, how do you do on bonds and alignments?
My alignment was spur others to significant and unplanned decisive action. Well, kinda. When I told the wizard to show them the gem, that was kind of unplanned. But otherwise,
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's not here to confirm or deny. I'd say that's pretty fair. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Cool. Yep, sounds good to me.
it was at least a stupid plan.
Yeah, it's like, well, it wasn't significant or undesigned, but it was stupid and hilarious. Does that count?
And I don't have any bonds, and I don't know any offhand that I could add right now.
Have a think about it as we're finishing up today. If anything comes to mind, you've got one to write in today. That's all fine. And Kerr.
I don't really have any bonds in mind either. I don't really know if he filled his alignment, which is stand between someone and danger. He wasn't really protecting anybody this time. Yeah, so for the personal ones, I think that's it.
Okay.
Nothing.
No worries.
And then there's the questions. Did we learn something new and important about the world?
Yes. So, we learned something new and important about the world. I think we learned a couple of things.
So? Yeah.
Got the what happened to Sherford?
Sherford, yeah.
Sherford, sorry. And what happened there, and also I suppose that there are something akin to dragons.
Yeah.
Out there.
There's a. I suppose you learned something new and important about the world. That there's a dragon in Sherford. In a way, you didn't necessarily learn what happened in Sherford, other than the general sense. But yeah, you certainly learned there's a dragon. You learned there's something there.
Yeah.
And,
What happens in
it's
Sheffield
full of
State?
zombies.
Yeah. Okay. And sorry, did you say something? Is that so, Matt?
Well, we also learned that it's full of zombies.
This is true. Yes. Yeah, you learned
Something like
you learned what's happened to the people of Sherford.
Sure.
Cherbourg.
Sherford.
Sherbet. Did we overcome a notable monster or enemy?
Well, we ran into 3 and we ran away from 2 of 3. So I would say that's a no.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we did that.
You boated away from one.
That's
you
right. Well, we
jogged away from the second, and you ran out the room of the third.
yeah, we essentially fled from everything we met,
Run away.
more or less. Did we
Tactical
loot?
withdrawal.
did we loot a memorable treasure? I guess the dragon skulls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not exactly looting, but
Yeah, yeah.
Well, looting is such a relative term.
Yeah.
that's true.
No,
Well,
I'll certainly allow that. You certainly gained a memorable treasure, so yeah, definitely all for that.
No.
So,
Cool.
Cool. Okay then.
whopping 3 experience.
Any levels up?
Not for me.
Christian might have got one, mightn't he? I suppose. Oops.
Yeah, he might have done.
That's right. He was rolling pretty badly.
Yeah. But as you gathered, it wasn't the first time either.
No.
Okay, good stuff. All right then. Any final comments, thoughts? How'd you find that game?
Good. Liked it. Creepy.
I think it's the first game I've been in where I ever ran into 3 monster encounters and only fought in one of them.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
I'm actually thinking about it recently that in games I run, I wished sometimes, like I'm actually in the middle of this with a play-by-post game I run, I wish that the players would actually think about what they're doing a little more and run away. Because sometimes that's the best answer.
Yeah. You have to just apply the messy tag to get them to run away, I find.
Yeah.
When one guy loses an arm, the rest of them are usually quite okay with running away.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say, Joe, is with the bonds thing, maybe there's a way of doing like an extra generic question. Like
I was thinking something like, when have you
aided someone,
Because
or
you're all in the same mercenary company, right? So I was thinking of doing a thing at the start of the session instead of the end, of saying, when have you fought with X person before? And just going round robin. So in this case, it'd be like, Alex, when have you worked with Chris before? Chris, when have you worked with Matt before? Matt, when have you worked with Alex before?
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be a good thing to do.
And then it's like a micro bond that implies you guys have worked before, even if you're playing with a brand new character.
Yeah.
Or maybe we could do a random table, like rolling of positive, negative, or like how everybody relates to each other.
What, like a bond, or
Yeah, like you get like a random one, like he stepped on my foot during introductions, or something like that.
Joe, have you seen was it you? I think that sort of talks about Funnel World before.
Yes, I'm actually just loading up Funnel World now because there's villager bonds in there.
The villager bond thing there.
Yep.
Could be interesting.
Just looking at it right now. There it is, villager bonds. It's a D20 list.
Yeah, I got hold of that last week.
It's bloody good.
I really want to play that at some point.
So we got 1D20 list of like, blank has much to teach me about, and then roll D6. Blank insult. Yeah, this could work. I might try this next week then.
Cool.
Villager bond list. This looks like a giggle.
Yeah.
Good, yeah.
This is super random. It's a 1D20 list of random bonds. Fairly generic, but plenty of entertainment to be had in there. And then after picking the guy, you also have to roll like a D6 or a D4 to pick the specific thing. So for example, result 10 is I stole that thing from blank because I needed to. Roll D4. 1, satisfy an urge. 2, feed my family. 3, sell it for profit. Or 4, practice. So that's interesting.
My some of the guys at school, we did this earlier. We just made characters from Funnel World, and one of them got blank owes me A, and then it's 4 guys, and the answer was kiss.
Nice.
It was like the alewife owed somebody a kiss. I can't remember who it was now, the fisherman or something. I really want to play Funnel World at some point.
Yeah, we'll have to do a Funnel World game at some point. It'll be a laugh. Even with not just that, I've got the list of villager traits. This is what This is where the sturdy jaw came from.
Yeah.
That was number. Where is it here? Square jaw, 86.
Yeah, it's really.
It's quite good for a list of zombie traits, I think, if you want to go for other than
I think it's
missing
good.
arm, missing limb.
I think it's just really good for just NPC generation. You could just like roll a couple of centiles and work out what this guy's like. So I like the fact it's got names of villages as well. which is
Yeah.
helpful.
It's
I also
funny.
I used his ideas for mapping the village
Mm.
to do the map for your place for
Mm.
Sherford.
Sure,
So I
but
actually made the map for my own sake.
Nice.
That's how it looked, with the idea of we'll start with the body of water. Well, I knew I wanted to have a river running through it, and then actually it was a very straightforward way of building up the village from there. So that's very cool.
Mm.
I like that a lot. I
I've,
might.
I started doing this. I just realised we're still alive, but I started doing this thing, which basically, if you're making a map, I did this for one shots.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna get these things out. If you get index cards, what you can do, and I've only got one on me at the moment, is you draw a little thing,
Oh yeah.
right? And then I haven't got any more on me because that's the only one I've got on me. But if you rather than drawing a whole map out, you can be like, right, here's the Wizard Tower, and then
Yep.
next to it, here's like the town of whatever.
Right.
Then on the way there's a forest, so I'm just going to move that over here, and I'm going to put a forest one in the middle, and
It's almost like having a random table of locations, but you've got the added bonus of being able to physically
and then
lay it down.
yeah, and at the end of it, I just take a photo, so to remind us what we were. So
Yeah. That's cool.
it's quite a cool way of doing it.
I like that idea.
Anyway,
There was also an interesting, sort of a thing, but I heard an interesting idea today. I think it was on the Out of Character podcast. And they had been talking with John Wick at some point. No, it was Ben Robbins who wrote Microscope and Kingdom.
Ah.
And he was running a game. I forget which system it was, but it was more of a normal fantasy game like D&D or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But he had the problem that you sort of have in a way, but even bigger. He had like 15 different people who wanted to play, and none of them could agree on the time. So he said, okay, we're going to organize it spontaneously, and whoever can come, and I'll take 5 or 6 people. And then his model, like your mercenary group, his model was that there was a tavern in a central place, and that whoever was there at the beginning of the session would meet in this tavern and would be contacted essentially by the same person. They would go out on their adventure, they would keep a map and notes while they were going. When they came back, they would carve the map and the notes into a huge table in the tavern.
that's cool.
That rings a bell.
So they were drawing these maps on Google Apps, like with Draw app. And then the next time, whoever was playing sat down at the table and they could look at the map.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a really, really cool idea. And there was also some sort of basic, whether it's like the local baron or it's a mercenary company or whatever, there was like a reason that they would get a job every time. You know?
Sure. And that gives you the added bonus of like, hey, let's go back to that thing that's already on the map.
Exactly.
So, and then that gives the GM an excuse to say, well, okay, here's how it's changed since it was last carved in.
Exactly.
The Wizard's Tower has now been taken over by a demon, or whatever.
Or you could also say they didn't manage to explore the whole thing, the last group, and you go out and continue where they left off, and you know what they knew, or at least you have partial knowledge of what they covered.
Cool.
It was, I thought it was. I thought, yeah, whatever, and then they described the table, and I was like, that's the cool bit.
Yeah. That's the thing that brings it all together. I guess it's some kind of, that would be quite nice to have when it's some kind of unifying notion behind it, not just being any old mercenary company, but some kind of ongoing record of that.
They were talking about ways to deal with this, and one of the other things, one of the guys said he ran a campaign. It was a similar thing with lots of different people, couldn't always come, and he had the guy who was hiring them give them a gem every time.
Mm-hmm.
And if they rubbed the gem, it would teleport them to a place. And if they rubbed them again, it would teleport them back to the original place and then dissolve into dust.
Right. It's like a random location.
It was like he would say, "This is your mission, and this will take you there."
Sure.
But it wasn't a lasting magic item. It was just get you there and back.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Right, guys, I need to head off.
Yeah.
That was awesome playing.
Today. Yep. Thanks everyone. And there'll be another one next week. So keep an eye out for that. I think a couple of you have already kind of signed up for that. For anyone watching at home, there will be news on my Patreon feed. If you're following me on Patreon, there is stuff on Google Plus. You can message me, you can email me via joebanner.co.uk, the usual malarkey. Anyway, thanks for watching, and speak to you all soon. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.